Hunters, have you heard of the Kensington runestone? Because if you're British like me, chances are maybe you haven't. And if you already know what the Kensington runestone is, keep listening, because I've got like a bunch of very scientific forensic geology information that might just change your opinion on it. So to catch us all up to speed, if you've been living under a rock, excuse the pun, this is the Kensington runestone. It was found in Minnesota in 1898 by a farmer called Olaf Oman. He was a Swedish farmer who had immigrated to America, and he found this slab of stone apparently under a tree. It was all covered in tree roots, and it was covered in old Scandinavian runes. Intriguing. Now, when it's translated, it tells the story about a bunch of Viking Norsemen in the year 1362, saying that they landed in America. A bunch of them had died in this sort of accident, and this was like a commemorative runestone. And it was also a land claim, basically saying, we got here first, y'all. I don't know why I said that. I've never said that in my life. Anyway, pause for the full translation. There we go. Now, this dude is called Scott Walter. If you're American, you may recognize his face because he does lots of television shows looking into like ancient history and mythology. He also knows a crap ton about Masonic and Knights Templar history. Now, this guy is a forensic geologist, and he has done a lot of the like real deep diving scientific work into the Kensington runestone. And he did this amazing talk at the Cosmic Summit recently that I got to watch, and that's how I learnt about this new information that I'm telling you. There we go. Off we plop. Let's get into it. Now, the first thing from a forensic point of view that lines up with the eyewitness accounts of discovering the stone is the root leaching that is on the stone itself. The people who witnessed that this farmer found it, it all lines up. These are 3 different eyewitness sketches from different times, all showing pretty much the same thing, that align with the root leaching on the stone. Now, just to roll back a smidge, if you Google the Kensington runestone on like Wikipedia, it will say in the last century historians have claimed that it's a modern fake because there was confusion over how weathered the inscriptions appeared to be, because sometimes they looked pretty fresh for having to be carved in 1362. However, Olaf Oman said that to read the runes, he got a nail and he scraped the runestone so that he could like clear out the mud and stuff from it. So by doing that, that's really annoying because there are some fresh nail scrapings on the inscription. However, when looking under like super high microscopic lens, you can see that the weathering around the sides of the inscription is in fact really old. And you can also see this in the flaking. See here where the person who's inscribed it has accidentally chipped off like a whole chunk of rock, and that has been weathered for a very long time. So that is basically an original flake. But how do we know how old the inscriptions are? You can't date rock. Well, I mean, you can date rock, but it says it's like billions of years old. You can't date like cut rock. You don't know when it's been cut. That's why we have a whole problem with ancient Egypt. However, we do have something that could give us a stab in the dark. So part of the composition of the rock that the runestone's made of has mica, and mica is a really soft, squidgy mineral, I believe. And so if you expose it for long periods of time to the elements, it goes all sort of like smooth and soft and mushy. And if you freshly chip it, it will look hard, like this. So Scott had an idea. He went round a bunch of ancient, we're talking like old 100, 200-year-old tombstones around Maine. So they've been exposed to the similar elements. And he got to have a really good look at how long it takes for mica, when exposed to the elements, to degrade. And according to the tombstones in the area that were engraved, mica took around 197 years, plus or minus 5 years, to get from sort of sharp to weathered and smooth. And on the Kensington runestone, basically the inscriptions where the sides are weathered are at least upwards of 200 years old. But it was found in 1898. No, yes, it was. It's also worth noting, it's really important, that since the stone was discovered, it was whipped away and popped in a museum and has not been in any weathering situation since 1898. So the weathering that is found on there is 200 years, at least 200 years older than 1898. Does that make sense? I don't think I was clear. Moving on. Scott wrote a report about all of this, and this is the list of like academic professionals that peer reviewed the work and agreed with it. And basically you can Google these people's names. They are legit. So historians have a problem with that. But according to like rock geniuses, this aligns. Now, what Scott also did, which people hadn't previously done when they declared the Kensington runestone like a modern fake, is they hadn't done a lot of macro photography. So he took over 600 photos in all different lightings, which was interesting because it exposed some really important key little shapes and inscriptions that hadn't been noted before in like the 30s, 40s and 50s. And I think it is all the difference. So under the macro photography, Scott found that not one, not two, but 3 of these like R-shaped runes have a dot in the middle. They are the dotted R. Why is that important? I'll tell you why. Because the dotted R rune was first discovered by modern scholars in Scandinavia in 1935 and was published like globally in 1938. There are dotted R's on this runestone that was discovered in 1898. That's like 40 years, nearly, before it was published that the dotted R was an ancient rune thing. So whoever did write the runestone either somehow knew of the knowledge that was discovered pre-1935, or it was actually written by an ancient person writing in ancient rune. We can see here it aligns with other slabs, and this, I think it's a gravestone, and like a bone which used this dotted R. Now, people have said, oh no, that's just a mistake. That's just where like the chisel slipped. Maybe if it happened on 1, but 3 times. And again, under like super microscopic forensic scans, you can see that it is fully an indentation. This dot was man-made. It's a dotted R. The maths isn't mathing, guys, on the dates here. Not only that, there's a whole bunch of context around it. All over the farmland where the Kensington runestone was discovered, they found these things called like stone holes, like mooring stones, except like to moor your boat, except this isn't a place for where boats are kept because it was like inland Minnesota. However, when you follow the positions of these original stone holes, because a lot of them are still in position to this day, it kind of basically, it's a map. Now, the original family in 1898 said that they moved one of the stones over here, but when you move that stone back and you cross-reference it with 6 other stones on the farm, they all cross-reference at the exact point where the Kensington runestone is located. That is a hell of a lot of work for a family to do, to move all these stones. And again, why would they move it out the way to move it? It's just a lot to, if this is all part of the hoax, that's pretty intense. Right, and considering that the argument is the Kensington runestone is a land claim, you would want to leave some sort of marker so that you can then find it again to prove that, you know, you had claimed this land originally in 1362. Remember, this is way before Christopher Columbus was supposed to have found America. Let's just hold that space. Okay, we're running out of time. I'm going to have to do a part 2 because not only is the date 1362 written on the stone, but there is actually there's like a double dating secret code where that number comes up again. I'm going to explain it in the part 2. Off we go.